Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, a.k.a. The Dark Knight, here at the top of the hour in Gotham. Yo, this is, glad to be back. I had I have two hot topics. These are hot button topics. But first and foremost, I recently became a granddad again for the 13th time. Yes, the 13th time. My daughter gave birth to and my granddaughter came into the world. Cutest little thing. Her name is Drew Celine. Yeah, when she told me that name, I'm like, oh, that is just so cool. So cool. Drew Celine. Now, here's here's a little caveat that you all should think about when you're bringing children into the world, and most importantly, you want to give them a running head start before people even see them. And the most important thing is their name coming into the world. Their name. When my children came into the world, they all have names, so they're not stereotyped before people even meet them. Okay, and I've spoken about this a couple of times before. And if you do that, if you do that, because see, we still live in a society, even in 2021, where certain things are looked at and frowned upon based upon your name and sometimes even where you grew up or come from. But if we give our children, the ones that are coming into the world now, names that make sense, names to where they are not they're not stereotypical. You're giving these children a chance. And when she told me the name, I'm like, oh yeah, that is so. The way it just rolls right off, because Drew Celine. When people meet me or they meet me, they've never seen me, but they meet me or they hear me on the phone, and sometimes they will assume that I'm white. You know what? I'm cool with that. I will run with that level of white privilege, even though I am black. And sometimes I've even been told that because I like my rock and roll and all of that kind of carrying on. You know, I've been told I am the blackest white man you will ever meet. But enough about that. But welcome to the world, my little precious buttercup. And the funniest thing, she's already smiling, she's only been here a week, and she can just smile, and it just becomes infectious. Now, the things we're going to get into tonight, I have two topics. First half of the show is that we're going to talk about is people gone missing. The first half of the show the title is called Gone Missing People of Color. That is the first half. Okay. And what I'm really I'm actually fed up with this right about now, because I know everybody has been following this missing persons case. Okay, America is boo-hooing and crying and teary-eyed and all on broken knee about this white girl, Gabby Petito. Okay, Gabby Petito. Okay, a white Italian girl gone missing. White Italian girl gone missing. Let's be honest about that. She didn't go missing. She left. She left with her abusive boyfriend and ended up taking a dirt nap. That's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. Okay, let's just call it. Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just call it what it is. Okay, very simple. Okay, and I say that, and understand something, people. I'm not being unsympathetic. I really am not. Truth be told, no parent should have to should have to bury a child. Okay, and yeah, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. But how many of us have gone missing? Nobody gave a good goddamn about us. We barely, we barely are a blip on the 4, 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news. No, let me rephrase that. We're barely a blip on the afternoon, the 12 o'clock news, and the 4 o'clock news. Then after 5 o'clock, you don't hear no more about our black ass. You don't hear no more about it. Zip, zero, nada. Okay, and I say that honestly because here in the city of Chicago, we have a young woman who at the time was 20 at the time was 27 when she went missing. Her name is Kiera Coles, black woman, a woman of color. And not only did she go missing, but she was not she was 7 months pregnant at the time that she went missing. Come October of this year, 3 years. Come next month, she will be missing 3 years. Now, here's the thing with and the fact that the media has not, the local media, national media, has not kept her in the news, but they kept Gabby Petito in the news for 3 weeks. I'm gonna tell you why. Because this is what America likes. This is what this is all about. See, we had Sweet Polly Purebred, blue-eyed, blonde-haired white girl go missing. Oh, that's what happened. And the media just kept this in the news. I mean, the fact that this went from local to regional, all the way up to national, to the point where the FBI got involved. Wow. The FBI. See what this is, people. Once again, as they say all the time. See, this is a level of white entitlement. White entitlement. Here in the state of Illinois, we had a young man go missing. For several. In fact, he not only was missing, but when his body was recovered, he laid in the morgue for approximately 2 weeks before they started putting the pieces together on who he was. This was a black man. Here's the problem I have with that. They didn't feel that this black man was important enough to run his DNA or fingerprints and send it to state or federal. Okay, that's the problem that I have, because we have in this country a system, an identification system. It's called shucks. It's a fingerprint identification system. Okay. Anytime and now the other part, now the back door to this too also. Usually when your fingerprints ends up in a database, whether it's state or federal, 9 times out of 10 you have had some type of run-in with the law. But at the same time, even though you may get fingerprints from a person who's never been printed, you could circulate this information, get this information out the same way that they did for Gabby Petito. The same way. This is such a problem here in this country, that white people are more important than black people. And I'm not going to say people of color, okay? Because when I say people of color, we're adding brown people into it. Okay, here's the thing. This is not to say that they're less important, but to a certain degree, we were here first. Let's say that we were here first. Okay. Let's talk about the numerous of black people that have come up missing at the hands of white America, law enforcement, or other, and nobody cares. For example, in Mississippi, actually, not Mississippi, I retract that. In Memphis, there was a former NBA player that went missing. went missing for a month. A month. Now here's the part about this. The fact that they found when they found his remains, they found his remains that it appeared that he, and I kid you not, people, I kid you not, this guy was a former NBA player who played for the Memphis Grizzlies. They found this man in a field, and it appeared that he had been, I kid you not, he had been skinned. It appeared. And so the medical examiner, law enforcement say, well, it's very possible that the wildlife could have gotten to him. Okay. All right. Well, that's highly unlikely. It's like, it's possible, but highly unlikely because the corpse or the remains had no skin. No skin. Certain things were missing, such as his ears and his eyes. I know this is very graphic, but this is some of the things that sometimes these are the things that are part of when people go missing, unexplained. And so what law enforcement does is to try to sugarcoat this, is to blame it on something else other than what we know it to be. Okay, so now we have Gabby going missing, and this woman she's missing for 3 weeks. They just had her funeral, and her parents, and what was really amazing. Oh no, let me phrase that. What was really um, not shocking is the number of people who came out to pay tribute. Hmm. Okay, I just have a problem with that because when black people go missing, we don't get this type of coverage. We don't get this type of sympathy. We don't get any of this. Any of this. And before I go to, before I get too far, just let you know that the phone lines are open. So if you have a comment, feel free. Please do call in here at the studio. Call me at 708 That's 708 to chime in on this gone missing people of color. So, with that being said, like I said, and to touch on the Kiera Coles situation, um, the fact that this woman left her home to go to work, she's supposed to, she was a postal carrier, and no one has seen, no one has seen hide a hair of her. Not only that, but being 6 months pregnant, nobody's seen her or this baby. No one's seen her. There was another incident, and this is just another case of gone missing. There was another woman, a black woman, that went missing for about 10 days and not reported missing, but and not reported. They subsequently um, found her body off the in Lake Michigan, in Waukegan. Now this woman also was about 8 months pregnant when she ended up when they found her. They ruled her death a homicide due to the condition of the body and certain wounds that they observed. But she'd been missing for 10 days, to the point to where, the media, and this is the part where the media did do a pretty good job, is that they managed to get a sketch artist and put the sketch of her on the news, and it kind of kept it circulating a little bit until someone came forward and said they knew her, and then they were able to backtrack. But the same way that you will give the information, that you will give the coverage to a white person going missing. I mean, the fact that the FBI decided to get into this is not surprising. Well, we got, the FBI. The FBI. Sometimes the FBI want to seem relevant when it's convenient for them. They really do. Now, the timeline on this nonsense, and I say that's what it is, because here's this: um, Gabby Petito. left Florida with her boyfriend. They went to New York. Then they started traveling across country. During that time, now here's the thing that's a little puzzling. If you and this person are having issues, are at odds, are constantly fussing, how in the world does a cross country road trip even factor in? Because it's a strong possibility one of you is not coming back. A strong possibility. And it happened. She did not come back. They found her in a wildlife preserve, you know, buried. Okay, this guy supposedly or allegedly left and drove all the way back home to Florida to his parents' home and just kicked his feet up like nothing ever happened. Not only that, but then when police went to talk to him, he was uncooperative. And then shortly after that, his parents got him a lawyer. See, once again, white privilege. They got him a lawyer. That's what they did. Got him a lawyer. So when law enforcement showed up at the house, and this is prior to him getting a lawyer, they wanted to, they took this one out. Once they confirmed the identity of the body, he should. That's when you say he is a person of interest. We need to keep our eyes on this guy, or at least take him into custody for the time being. They didn't even do that. Once again, this is law enforcement fumbling the ball in their own end zone, and somebody else is capitalizing it and falling on it and scoring a touchdown. These are points going in the wrong direction. So now you got the FBI crawling, going through their home, and so now when this guy was at the heat was on, this guy he just ups and disappears, and they haven't seen hide a hair of him. Now here's my thing. Here's my theory. Okay, so this guy disappears, and so they focus their search on a they focus the search on a swampland, swamp area. Okay, here it is. Okay, you're in Florida. You are in Florida, but there's a lot of swampland in Florida, the Everglades, and in the swampland you have two things. You got snakes and alligators. Two things. If they don't find this dude, they don't find two things. This guy could be two places. He could be snake or alligator food, or this guy has become the mountain man, living somewhere in a cave, knocking rocks together to create fire. One of the two. One of the two. And from last report from one of the friends that said that they have dealt with him, that this guy has been known to go off the grid. He knows his, and I quote, he knows how to live off the land. Wow. So it's a very good chance they may not find this guy. Very, very good chance they may not find him. If they don't, it's unfortunate that the parents won't get any type of closure. Well, they got closure because they've recovered the body, but they won't get any justice. They just won't. It's fairly possible. Fairly possible. But at the same time, this is the thing that we have to look at too. When you enable people like his parents have done, this gives them a sense of emboldens them, a sense of privilege. And when you have individuals like that, that have this type of attitude, in their mind, they feel that they are completely untouchable. And that's what this guy really thinks he is, if they haven't found him by now. There was the last time that this girl was seen alive was when they had had interaction with law enforcement while on this road trip, and a passerby saw them arguing and scuffling on the side of the road. Called the highway patrol. The highway patrol showed up, and then they separated the two and tell them they need to cool off. It's you can't fault law enforcement because they don't have the full story, and there's no way possible they could have known that this girl would come up dead. There's no way of knowing. No real way of knowing that. No way. See, one of the things that sometimes we fail to sometimes that we fail to real to look at is that sometimes when people are in and see this is a part of domestic abuse gone wild, and there comes a point to where you have to say to yourself, well, let me put it this way. At some point you have to be sick and tired of you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired of somebody kicking your ass for breakfast, lunch, and dinner twice on Sundays, and for extra measures for dessert. Some point or another, you have to you have there comes a time and comes a point, because two things are going to happen: either you're going to kill them or they're going to kill you. Either way, or as they say, somebody's going to the boneyard and it ain't gonna be me. Some point or another. Now, my strong thinking that my first thing that came to my mind when they said they were looking in the swamp for this guy is that why would he go to the swamp knowing that the chances of survival are pretty slim? You're either going to deal with the pythons or the alligators, one of the two. And it's not far removed that this person would do something like that or kill himself in order not to face the music. It's fairly possible for someone to do that. Fairly possible. Now, don't get me wrong. And as I said before, myself, my show, and members of our program, and the studio. By no means do we condone abuse against, do we condone abuse against women or children, and vice versa? Do we condone abuse against men? But there comes a point to where there has to be a level of accountability, and a point to where you as the individual or the victim have to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. I know as parents that sometimes we get into a mode to where we want to protect our children from all the bad people and all the evils of this planet. But there comes a point to where we can only do so much, because they're grown and they're making grown decisions. This is how this is. It's unfortunate. It really is. But at the same time, as an adult, you have to use. There's a point where you use a little bit of common sense, but we have to realize this too. Common sense is not common for everybody. It is not. There are some individuals that go on and abuse individuals, and they do it for the pleasure or to be spiteful. This is what they do. Hey, welcome to Black Conservative Radio. Who do I have on the phone and where are you calling from?
This is Sandra from Iowa.
All right. Okay, you all. Check it out, y'all. We are expanding. We got Iowa in the house. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, I just wanted to touch on something really quick. I'm not sure if you know. So, here's the thing. You were talking about accountability and domestic violence victims. I don't know if you know the stats, but on average, and this is on average, it takes a woman 7 attempts before she can successfully leave her abuser. And if there are children involved, it takes more attempts to successfully leave your abuser. People develop Stockholm syndrome. I'm pretty sure you're aware of that.
Yes.
It's as a victim of a domestic situation, it's always easier said than done. So I just want to put that out there for your listeners and for yourself. But like you said, I mean, at some point, yeah, you do get sick and tired, but there may be barriers in the way. It may be a financial barrier. There may be, like I said, children involved, or in certain situations. If this individual, if they know every place that you're going to go for an escape, whether it's family, friends, or shelter, I mean, your options really become limited. Your choices become limited, especially, like I said, if you're not financially prepared and children are involved. It makes it that much harder, but it does take a woman. This is not made up. This is science. You can Google this. You can fact check me. 7 attempts. And if she does make it out successfully, she does have other barriers later down the road. And like I said, the other thing is, yeah, it does come to a point where, I mean, at some point you do realize, okay, I have to get out of this. I want to get out of this. It becomes a how do I get out of this? And then not only that, but how do I get out of this safely? How do I get out of this with my life?
You know what? I do. I hear what you're saying, and and I thank you for that stat. Because make it clear, people. Hey, I don't know everything. I don't. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm just relaying the information that I gather and I see and draw and assess it from there. But that is a very interesting stat that it takes it takes a woman. Just now, this is a single woman, 7 attempts to leave their abuser, and if she has children, 9 attempts. Wow. You know what? You learn something new every day. Wow, that is new. That because I've never been in that position to where I was the abused. So I can only sympathize. I can't say I can relate. I can sympathize with anyone who has been in that situation, and it has to be unbearable to, like I said earlier, when you make up your mind to do it. And I think most instances is that once you make up your mind that one of us is going to the boneyard and it ain't gonna be me, that's when you realize now is the time, because it's never going to straighten itself out. And with these two people, with Gabby and the boyfriend, and as the parents would say, this was a toxic relationship from the beginning. That's the part. And another item that came across the board, and as I see with my chat, that I had, that she was a YouTube influencer.
Right.
Okay. And that, okay. I see I see, to a certain degree, I won't say the relevance, but I see the stream of people that well, on how this was able to stay in the news so long, for 3.5 weeks.
Right.
Makes
This is how it was able to stay in the news. And the other thing is, with these YouTube influencers, they are being paid. They have these endorsements and subscriptions to, hey, I have to live the perfect life. You know what I mean? So even if we are going through hell behind the scenes every other day, at least 5 out of those 7, we need to be picture perfect for the camera, because there's money on the line, there's money to be made, and we're being paid, by YouTube or whoever there are our endorsement, people are, or whatever. We're being paid to portray an image. That is the backside of this too. Because maybe if she were just, a regular, everyday, average Joe woman, maybe this could have had a different outcome.
Yeah.
Maybe she would have left sooner.
Yeah.
There's a lot of naysayers.
Right. And do you, and just let me throw this out at you, caller. It's fairly possible, or do you think it's possible, that the fact that she kept she kept her life, kept her situation personal, her personal life closed off, so she never let people know that she was going through a domestic situation, being a YouTube influencer. I don't think a lot of people put their business, their personal business out there. Is that, you think that's fairly possible?
I think it's fairly possible to say that, and also, like I said, as a victim of domestic violence, you are embarrassed, you're ashamed. I mean, your self esteem takes a hit, you know. So being in her predicament, like I said, as a YouTube influencer, it probably, you know what I mean, like I'm trying to find the words to. It's a power thing, you know what I mean.
Narcissistic.
So, like the fiance, you know, having the upper hand always,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, you tell the story to your family or your friends so many times, and they get tired of hearing it, and you know, or if he's a narcissistic individual and he has people around him, like his parents that enabled him, like you said, his parents. I mean, your fiance goes missing, and the first thing you do is go back home and get a lawyer. I don't know. That seems very guilty to me. And then, you know, like I said, people that are enabling him, and like I said, he seems to be a narcissistic individual. So he could have had everyone well fooled into believing, hey, this woman is the aggressor. I'm just trying to, you know, be the right man, be the perfect guy. And whole time it's a different story behind the scenes. That's what narcissistic people do. That's what, you know, domestic abusers do. They have the average person fooled into believing that we're living this picture perfect life, and this woman or this man is just ungrateful. And I mean, I don't know what their problem is.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because looking at the video of her, of Gabby and her fiance, interacting with state police, and then, like I said, it's, you know, and then people, and a lot of people know me, that I'm, you know, that I'm pro police when they're doing the right thing, and it's just no way that these officers could have known that these two people were in such a volatile state. Now, from the understanding is that when the report came across, they received a report of two people fighting on the side of the highway. That was the initial call. They showed up and they saw Gabby somewhat hysterical and crying, but something along the lines, if I recall, something along the lines, you know, it's just, you know, we're just going through something. That's the under, you know, that's why I believe that's what she said. And the officers kind of told them, okay, what you all need to do is kind of separate yourselves right now, because, you know, hey, we're not marriage counselors. But at the same time, it's difficult to put two people who have been arguing back in the same vehicle. What's really mind-boggling, as I said earlier.
Right. Remember, I said that barrier. So
Yeah.
they were on a road trip together. So I don't know what their financial situation was or what. But again, like you said, they're in the same vehicle.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
the yeah.
what are
That
we gonna do?
right. Now, this is 2020 is hindsight. They could have done this, you know, and it's hard to say, because it's easy for us to play Monday morning quarterback after the game has completely went in the toilet. It's completely easy for us to, and saying, well, these officers could have put her in the squad and taken them into town and let him drive the truck and separate them, or say, hey, listen, you go to a hotel, she's going to stay at the station until we sort this out, until you all calm down. Now, that's, you know, that's what's, it's hard to say what this, you know, hard to say. But the part that's mind-boggling is, like we said, is this guy drives all the way back home to Florida, props his feet up, and refused to cooperate with police. I mean, and when when Gabby's parents are asking, his words were, "I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Y'all left together." And the part that's really damning is that you all knew that these two people have a volatile relationship, and you're gonna do a cross country trip. Look, I'm gonna be totally honest. If I'm mad with somebody and I gotta be in a car with them for 6 hours, do you honestly think? And heaven forbid, it's not like you go get into the argument once the trip has started. You got a 6 or 8 hour drive, and you get into it in hour 6 of an 8-hour drive. Okay. But you all get into it before you even leave your home for the 8-hour drive. That makes absolutely no sense. It's not even to a point where you on a plane. At least you're sitting, okay, you may be sitting next to each other, or you could talk to say, do you mind if we switch seats? Or on a bus. Do you mind? Something.
Right.
You don't have that option. And this going to, to touch on what you just said, she had limited options being out on the road. Limited options. Very, very
isolated from friends, isolated from family.
Yeah. Isolation and and we learn something new every day, people, about certain situations, and particularly victims of domestic violence or abuse. You have people, the antagonist has a tendency to isolate their victim from everything and everybody. There's a movie, and if you people listen, check this movie out. This is a prime example of what we're discussing right now. There's a movie with a guy named Charles. It's an old black and white movie with Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer called Gaslight.
Yep.
Where this guy was he was trying to drive his wife insane by making her think and believe that there were things going on when there wasn't, making her believe that she was misplacing jewelry or forgetting things or hearing noises when it's just, all of these particular things. And that's a term called gaslighting someone, making them trying to push them to a certain point to where they're believing. Self-doubt. Right. That's the word I'm looking for. Creating self-doubt. Like, okay, holy shit. Am I losing my mind? Is my cheese sliding off my cracker? What's going on? What is happening? What is going on? So
I believe they did a remake. It's called Dirty Mind, the Debbie Broderick story.
Hey,
redid, I think, last.
Call it. Tell you what, if you get a minute, call me back because I think I got another call coming in.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Iowa. Well, if you're trying to call in, please do call back. Obviously, I'm reaching some people, and this is really becoming a hot topic. But that is a very interesting fact. That, as Iowa said, that it takes a woman. Now, this is a single woman, 7 attempts. I'm gonna, you know what? Because I'm gonna ask my engineer right quick, and let me ask you a question, Wanda. Wanda, if you were in how long would it take you if you were in an abusive relationship? How long would it take you to leave?
But at the same time, I do know that is a fact. I had to, for a friend who was being abused, and she came to me, and I went to someone to help me with the domestic violence, and they told me the exact same information.
Wow.
That it takes up to 7 times for someone in an abusive situation. And they don't have to be single. It could be their husband.
Okay.
My friend, it was her husband.
Okay. And that's the scary part too. It doesn't have to be the boyfriend. It could be the husband. And see, it's this is news to me because you hear about this, but then being a man, it's you don't really get to see, you really don't get to hear or see that other side of what's going on. You like, okay, what happens? But as you were saying, go ahead. You were saying.
That is a fact. That is a fact. And I was asking for help because she had come to me with bruises and multiple times, and I was like, I'm done. I keep telling her to just leave, and then that's when they said to me, please know that it could take. She could be on time 4, and she's coming to you and saying she needs help.
Mm-hmm.
And I got help, and we set up a place for her to go. We were going to meet in I know they can't hear me, but we were going to meet in they told me don't give out my address.
Give out your address, right?
You may follow her, so meet her in a mall where it's an open public place.
Now that I've heard.
She changed her whole plan. the state.
Oh wow. But wow, but at some point or another, people, there's a point to where you have to make that turn, and like you say, and this is the thing, and people understand something too, understand this, and uh, there are agencies, there are see, we're now, this is not 1971 to where where there's no there you have to, you got to fight, you got to fight hell and high water to get you to help. No, there's too many avenues and agencies out here for you to get help, but at the same time you have to want this. And I know and from everything that's been said tonight, and it sounds awfully difficult, awfully difficult sometimes for people to escape or get away, or get to a point to where they've hit you for the last time, they've broken they've broken an arm for the last time, or hit or blacken your eye. I went to this is brings me to an interesting story. um I went to a building to do some work, and me and my partner, we observed a woman who appeared to have been abused. She had the biggest shiner that I think I'd ever seen on a woman, and she was petrified when we came in, and just completely petrified. And we're like, "Are you okay?" And so the man said, "She's fine." I'm not understanding how she's fine, and she's standing there with the biggest black eye I've ever seen on a human being. So I'm like, okay, what she do? Fall into a table? No, it looked like she fell into it. Looked like his fist landed in her face several times. But we're in an age now to where there are, if you are an individual who is going through some form of domestic violence, domestic abuse, get some help. Call first, you have to, call 911. Second, Google different, pull these agencies up for domestic violence. There are phone numbers that you can call. If you have friends, you have people who are willing to help you. But at the same time, as my engineer was saying, that an individual that she was helping and tried to get her out, but she wound up staying. And the abuser was her husband, and that's got to be the most horrific thing I think any woman could possibly be involved in, is that it's your spouse who is abusing you. And understand something too, people. It doesn't. Now, here's the other thing too about this situation. And so and that's why I have to, look. We have to look at both sides. There's two sides to this thing. Yes, I'm the way that the media has treated this. Yes, I'm outraged. But at the same time, this was a woman who was in a relationship that was violent from the beginning. But at the same time, there are a lot of black women who are in the exact same position, who don't have the resources that Gabby Petito has. There are black women out there right now who are in a domestic situation with their significant other, their husband, or with their spouse or husband. And not only that, but there's some of them are there with children. There are some that who have been in that situation with children, and the children have been witness to these horrific acts. I'm not condoning, I'm the first person to tell you, you know what, protect yourself at all times. I will be the first person to tell you that. Protect yourself at all times. I don't condone a man putting his hands on a woman, and even to, up until a point, unless provoked. Now, if there's a point to where, she's completely flipped out her head and trying to take your life, you defend yourself. But unprovoked, for no reason, or because you jumping on this woman because what? Your steak wasn't hot enough. The potatoes weren't hot enough. The beer was not cold enough. I'm not understanding that. I'm not getting that. And I never will. Point blank, period. I mean, because there's two, there's two sides. This is two sides of the same coin. Two sides. This individual, this fiance, this boyfriend of hers, is running around wherever he may be. This son bitch may be in the mountains, or he is alligator or snake food right about now. One of the two. This is a guy who apparently does not want to be found. The FBI has chipped in, I think, $30,000 to find this asshole. Okay, wow, whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo.
Do you think his parents should be charged?
Yes, very good. You know what? That's that's a very good question. The question is asked: do I believe that that the boyfriend's parents should be charged? Yes, I do. Primarily because you can charge them with aiding and abetting. Now how we get to that point is that if they manage to link some form of communication between him and them, that's where we get to where they should be charged.
Didn't the neighbors say that she saw them all get in a camper and leave?
Yes, that was true. Now that is very true. That is very, very true. And so, see, once again, this is what parents enabling their children. And see, make no mistake, this guy, this is not the first time that he's probably done something like this, and his mom and daddy then swooped in to save the day, because it always does. This is not, now he's done something that now we got to figure out. Now we have to also look at the fact that what type of financial resources do his parents have? They could easily now that you mentioned that, this guy could have a passport and have already left the country before the FBI put out a bolo on it. This guy could be in a non-extradition country right about now. If they can't find him in the United States, he's someplace else. I mean, let's just say that. Let's just look at that. If they don't find it, I tell you what, I say this. They don't find this guy in the next 60 days. This guy's either in another country, in the mountains, or dead. One of the three. I mean, think of it this way. When James Whitey Bulger, he was the mob boss for the Irish crew in Boston. When he found out the FBI was looking for him, this guy disappeared for 20 years. 20 years. This guy was in Mexico, and then he wound up living the surf life in San Diego until he got caught. So, we have to look at the fact we have to really entertain the idea that this guy has resources, or his parents have unlimited resources on getting them out. And understand something, certain parents, as a parent myself, I can say that I'm not going to condone if my children get into something, or they do something, or they create something. It depends on, and a lot of it depends on, look here, if you go out there, you mess around and you kill somebody, you know what? We'll talk about it, but you're going to be on your own, because this is something that you did. You created. And I know some of you thinking like, well, that's your child. Listen, hold on. Let's be honest. There are certain things that we cannot condone our children. Let me rephrase that. We have to stop condoning the conduct of our children just because they're our children. There's a point to where everyone must be held accountable. This dude, 9 times out of 10, if they once they do the search on him in the background, it's probably a whole bunch of other shit that he did and got away with. Because this is not the first time this is something that this guy just didn't wake up and decide to do this. This is something that has been going on and on. And the fact that him and the parents were seen hopping into a camper and driving away. This is the part where law enforcement has completely, once again, has fumbled the ball in their own end zone, and the defense scooped it up and scored a touchdown. This is the part to where I hold law enforcement accountable. Hold them accountable. I mean, you had everything you could possibly need and want. Now, here's the other thing that they're getting away from. One of the things that some time ago is that they when you would get ready to file a missing persons report, they would tell you, well, you have to wait 48 hours. You have to wait 48 hours. Help me understand this. There's a television show, and it is the only true reality show because there are no actors in this one. It's on A&E called The First 48. Everybody you see in there are real. The decedents, dead bodies, victims, those are real. The detectives, they are real cops. Real. And it's and in law enforcement, when they say the first 48, it's this way. The first 48 are the only 48, which means that you have to move on this almost immediately. Now, this is a sidebar because this was just a couple of days ago. I know some of you are familiar with Kelly Price, and it was reported that Kelly Price had come up missing. And I use the term come up missing, but she was reported missing for quite some time. Okay. Now, that kind of put a little blip on the radar, like, oh, okay, we all know Kelly, this, that, and the other, Kelly Price, blah, blah, blah. But as it happened, Kelly Price apparently had what she say, she went to a quiet place and had been released. Yeah, she went to a quiet place and apparently she had checked herself into a hospital, what they call, and that's the kind of word of checking yourself in for a psychiatric evaluation. It's called, that's the PC term. Don't shoot the messenger. It's called a quiet place, and understandable, because sometimes we have no idea what people are going through, what side of the tracks that they're contemplating. So they, and the fact of the matter is that she was woman enough to say, I need help. She, all it was said that she had been released and she went to a quiet place. So you can classify that as possible psych eval, possibly, but I didn't hear anything about her being admitted for COVID or anything of that nature. I've been following that. I didn't hear that. But this is one of the things, that it made a hiccup on the radar. But one of the other things, but this is where we're at, people. This is one of the things that we have to also, but I will say this, if you have a loved one that is dealing, I'm gonna say this is a two-part statement. Number one, if you have a loved one that is involved or that is involved with someone, and you see evidence of domestic violence or abuse, you try to talk, you do your best to talk to them, convince them to get out of that relationship or convince them to get some type of help. Try to convince them. But at the same time, it has to come from that person has to want to be out of that relationship. They have to want the help, because there's some people that stay in those domestic relationships because the other individual has made them feel worthless, has stolen their identity, has stolen their self-esteem. Not took, stolen. Stolen. Okay? Stolen their identification. Now, the other thing, I know, and I'm getting close to my time, but I'm gonna just touch on this briefly while I got probably like 3 minutes. Now, on the flip side of this, of this proverbial shit show. If you haven't heard, if you have not heard, um, R. Kelly, aka Robert Sylvester Kelly, was found guilty today by a Brooklyn federal jury. Now, a lot of things that were said in court were disturbing, and like I said, and it's more disturbing to me because and I'm not ashamed to say this, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, that when I had the opportunity to work with Robert Kelly, you know naturally you're not going to, there's certain things that you don't see, and you're not and you're not going to get into, you're not going to talk about. But at the same time, it's the same thing if you work with somebody and then you found out they're the mass shooter of the workplace, and you're saying, well, damn, I sit right across the desk from this guy, I didn't see any of that. And that's the same instance here. And this in itself, what we're looking at is a true form. Now, this is the dark side of domestic abuse, on what he's been accused of doing to numerous women, Aaliyah included. This is the dark side of this maelstrom. And with that being said, and I kid you not, people, I kid you not, they are talking about, now R. Kelly is 54 years old. They might as well say 45 years, which means it's basically, to him, is life. He's 54. They give him more. They give him 40 years or more. It's over with. They're talking about giving it. No, well, let me rephrase that. I'm not talking about. They have said that he could get, when they go back for sentencing, he could get 240 years in prison. 240 years. Now, I know some of you are kind of scratching your head like, God damn, what, huh? That's because what can happen, they could sentence him per count. They could sentence him at the minimum per count per offense. So let's just, for the mathematicians, for the math aficionados that are happen to be listening or watching, do the math. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he has a 13 count indictment, and for every count, he's getting 20 years. And that's the minimum. And not to mention that this is federal. This is federal sentencing. Federal, not state, federal. And if they convict him and then heaven forbid, if in the fact that he was in possession, how it's put, in possession of child pornography, you get convicted of child pornography, that is a life sentence in prison. If you don't believe me, go ask the fat Subway guy, the former fat Subway guy, Jared. He got caught, or he got indicted and convicted of sex abuse and child pornography. This dude is this guy's he's doing 70 years. The guy was 30. The guy is 39 years old. Do the math. Do the math. And when you're talking about this particular thing, these particular crimes, and not only that, but he's also charged with racketeering. And see, they introduce what they call, like I said before, he's looking at the RICO Act. That in itself is an additional 20 years per count. So, in so many words, I believe I can fly. Yeah, he will be the true nature. He will be the true definition of a jailbird. Sorry, Kels, but it is what it is. But anyway, with that being said, I see the lights flashing in the distance and the helicopter has landed. That means that, hey, while we're at it, hey, I'm letting my people know, hey, get the Batmobile warmed up because the Cape Crusader is on his way. Hey, with that, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Captain Hooks. Hey, if you're hungry, get your behind over there, get you some good food at 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. With that being said, you all, not my monkey, not my circus. I'm gonna see you all next week.
New shit. They call me Batman, cause the black mask is on my face. Gun up on my waist, booted and suited in them black capes. I'm looking for some hood rats that I take to the back cave. Y'all lame like blank man, while I'm steady serving them like